This is the Making of a Major Championship, the countdown to the 105th PGA Championship. I'm Thad Brown, joined by the 2023 PGA Championship Director, the man in charge, Brian Carnes. And Brian, we're here today because February 4th will be 100 days out from the start of this year's championship. I know, I can't believe it's this close. Give me a take on why 100 days is important from the PGA of America point of view. Other than that, it's a really nice round number.
Yeah, I mean, I think it really it's kind of execution mode, right? I mean, this is what we've all been planning for the last 18 to 24 months. You've been looking at maps in 2D, you've been imagining where everything is going to go, how this is all going to sort of lay out, and this is the point that it all has to sort of be sort of built out. It has to become real now, and there's no more, hey, we need another couple of weeks on this, we need to revisit this, we need to reimagine it. I mean, because we're building everything, you do have that element of nothing is concrete, right? We're not sort of tethered to anything outside of the clubhouse and some of the permanent structures. So we spend a lot of time, trying to be creative, trying to build on what we did in 13 and 19 and bring new sort of experiences and opportunities for spectators, corporate clients, volunteers. But now is when it's kind of over. Now it's like we're all in and it's just time to get it done. So in a lot of ways it feels like, it's just a sprint for the next 100 days. But I think for those of us that are in the industry, is the thing we enjoy the most.
Give me an update on where we are in general in terms of getting ready, but I think specifically people want to know ticket-wise what's the situation for May right now.
Yeah, so it's a similar situation that we've been in for the last 9 months. That Friday, Saturday, Sunday tickets are sold out. We've got a few Thursday tickets still available. We've got some practice round, but by and large, I mean, we moved almost all of our tickets last summer. I mean, it was just another, not a surprise because this is what happens when we come to Rochester. The volunteer positions, the tickets sell out, and so there's still a little bit left, and I think that there's certainly going to be a number of people that maybe were asleep last summer or just moved up here that are going to realize, wow, I need to get tickets. I think golf, the season, the last couple of weeks, it feels like it's picked up. We've got a Netflix series premiering in a couple of weeks, and so I think we're right in the middle of it, and it's almost like the golf season is starting earlier and earlier, and that's great for us because with that May date change, you lose a little bit of that window. You lose the summer to kind of build up towards it, but I'm thrilled. I think we're in a great spot from what's going on outside in terms of the build, and again, it makes my life a lot easier when I'm not sweating this stuff down the stretch.
We talk about the May date changing things up a little bit. There was a viral video during the winter of water into the clubhouse, and people had a moment of, oh my goodness, that looks terrible. Yeah. From what we understand, it isn't that big a deal. I do want to get someone to talk about it. What was the situation from the PGA Championship point of view, and is it going to affect the event at all in May?
No, it won't affect. I mean, look, this clubhouse is, that was pretty much back to working order. It was in the dining room. I mean, that was back to working order within a week. Mm-hmm. And so I think there's still a few things they're fixing up, but in terms of our operations, it's not an impact at all. So I think we saw that, and it's amazing how things go viral, and certainly a conversation gets started about something like that in our mind, I got a call from Ron Plouffe, the general chair, that night, and he said, hey, here's what's going on, and it'll be basically back up and running in a week or so, and so yeah, we just move on. But it was again very indicative of the nature of Twitter and social media that it goes around, and we all sort of laughed a little bit, but I felt bad certainly for the team here that had to put up with that because that was over break, and it was cold, and it was water everywhere, but we know how to solve those problems, and it's just like anything that happens out there that week. I mean, that's just the nature of this business. We've got to adjust. Oak Hill's got members that are trying to come in here and eat and do parties, and so it's not a, hey, we'll take a couple months off, shut it down, and then get back. We've got to fix this ASAP.
Knock on some wood, by the way, because we are not that far removed from a power outage impacting one of these championships 20 years ago. Hopefully we'll not have to deal with that again. Next few steps, we talked about in the fall how the build-out's going to be a little different. There's a whole bunch of stuff that's already done around the course. I know you were waiting to make sure winter is done a little bit to try and continue with that work. Winter hasn't really hit Rochester at all. It's been pretty mild.
Yeah.
Where are we with the plan for that? And is there any thought of maybe starting some things early if we continue to stay relatively snow-free?
No, I think where we really planned for the worst. So we knew that regardless of how rough the winter was, what we got done in the fall would put us in a spot that it was sort of irrelevant what happened. So we're not moving up our timeline because I think we don't need to. And so much of what we do, it's so scheduled out from the flooring to the HVAC, everything coming in behind one another. So it's difficult to start anything early. Mm-hmm. But I think obviously our eyes are on what's going on out there. I think our vendors are prepped, and as soon as it's sort of go time, which is really the end of February, it'll be full go.
I was talking with a friend of mine who has tickets, and he's excited, and he talked about, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that. He's been to them before, and he said, yeah, I got to, park over here and take the bus in. And one of the things I brought up to him is that you don't have to do that necessarily this year because ride sharing is a brand new thing. And, for all the Rochester veterans who have been to these events a lot, that will be, I think, a big difference. Can you explain a little bit about where we are getting ready for that and what people can expect should they want to take advantage of that opportunity to get in that way?
Yeah, so we've still got the traditional, park. It's going to be at MCC. We're still sort of finalizing all those details. We'll roll that out in the next 30 to 45 days. But that still will exist. Kind of the idea that people can go and park for free, get shuttled to the main entrance. But to your point, people have actually always utilized that Kilbourne neighborhood, whether it's people parking in front yards, and obviously that's not under our purview. We don't. But it's just sort of the market, handling itself. But rideshare is a big thing, right? I mean, rideshare has obviously come a long way even since 2019 in terms of the availability and accessibility, and it's a great opportunity. We've certainly tried to make it a simple thing, giving Uber, Lyft, any rideshare program access to drop off nearby. A, just to help alleviate some of our shuttling, but B, obviously a lot of people, they're going to come out here, they're going to eat all day, they're going to drink, and we want people to be safe and responsible, and it's a great way to do that.
You talk about eating and drinking. Another brand new thing for this championship will be concessions included in many tickets. Everything but alcohol. What is the thinking behind that? And again, what can kind of people expect? If I say to you, you're going to have an opportunity to have an all-inclusive ticket, what does that mean?
Yeah, it's honestly, I'm still wrapping my head around it. We did it for the first time at Southern Hills last year, and it took a lot for me to come around on that idea because we do that in corporate areas. There's certain venues, and you feel like, okay, for 500 people, for 1,000 people, that's totally doable. You start to think about 25,000 people, and having a concession program like that, it was a little mind blowing. But we rolled that out at Southern Hills, and it actually was unbelievable. And what it allows us to do by having that food sort of bundled into the ticket is allows us to sort of prep staff. I mean, everything is done to help facilitate that experience. So people are going to get through lines quicker, and even that all-inclusive, they're not going to feel, because we've got so many concessions and they're so efficient, people aren't going to feel like I need to come in and stock up because lines are long or I'm only going to do this once. The idea is that, hey, you're going to grab a burger there, you walk over to this hole, you grab a bottle of water. But that's a huge part of it, is delivering that experience. And we felt like, look, if we can execute this at a high level, people are going to walk away and go, that's the way all venues should be, right? That's part of it, is that Delaware North, who is our concessionaire partner based out of Buffalo, they're just really innovative, and they brought that idea to the table, and it's, I think, kind of changed the game. I mean, sort of our takeaway, we had expectations sort of all over the map going into Southern Hills, and the takeaway was this was a total slam dunk, and we've got to continue to build on this. So I think that's kind of the future, and we've actually had a lot of interest from other professional sports teams, other golf organizations saying, hey, how did you do that? We'd love to do that because, again, it helps so much from a planning standpoint to be able to do that, and we think it's going to be a better experience for the spectators.
This course is going to be a lot different, and we'll talk about the golf a lot more as we get closer to May. But from a spectator point of view, the views are going to be different. There's more opportunity to see different holes. You can stand in a spot now where maybe you might have seen one hole and one tee box. Now you might be able to see 3 or 4. If we were going to tell fans, these are the cool places I want to go to where I think you might be able to have the best views or the most views, what might be different that will grab someone's attention when they walk on this course in May?
Yeah, I think, for me, what struck me is 5. I mean, there's just the new part there, the ability to go out there and just park. And if, you're coming in off the Kilbourne entrance, it's an easy walk over there. And that's, again, look, I'm biased because I'm around these a lot. And so I think the savvy golf fan, that's what they're going to see, is that there's a couple of those remote spots. And again, we've added concessions. We've made sure that people have access to what they want out there, what they need to get. And so that's what I'm excited about. Is that people have the ability to do that. To your point, there's a few more views they can see. I think still there's going to be that hub of activity because 18, 1, 14, that's really where it's sort of the home stretch. Sunday afternoon, there's going to be that energy around the clubhouse. There always is because it's kind of the centerpiece of this golf course. But I think certainly opening up other opportunities. I think even the driving range here, it's so unconventional, right? Because it's not a straightforward, here's the driving range. It's so spread out, utilizing the West course. I think that also sort of creates these cool opportunities to sort of sneak up top and be able to see somebody who's kind of off by themselves. And I'm sure you remember these guys over the years, they'll go find a spot because it's not really that sort of defined.
Yeah, the driving range at Oak Hill, for people who haven't been here before, it's a couple of different areas by the main practice area. They use a lot of the West course. And Brian was here in 2019 for the Senior PGA Championship, so you know the Vista as well. I'm fascinated about the idea of number 5 because it is essentially on a corner of the property that had never been used before. And now it will be, I mean, a par 3 is fun. You know, people talk about their memories of '89, seeing all the hole-in-ones. And now you'll have a spot where you can kind of have your own space, not have to fight the crowd, and be able to watch golf, major championship golf at a fun little hole, a new hole too.
Yeah, no, exactly. The fact that it's new, everything that's happening there will be the first time. Yeah, that's one of the things I'm excited about.
One of the things that's been fun when we've had championships here in August is the idea of players coming in through the summer to test, to see the course, walk the course. Obviously, with the event in May and just the way that the schedule is stacked, there isn't a whole lot of room for that to happen. I know you don't have everybody's schedule, but the PGA of America did do one of these at Bethpage. It was a Northeast PGA Championship in May. Any idea about how players will approach this? Will they be here? Maybe do they show up in March and just walk the course? Will they try and play it? You know, how that might play out?
I think you'll see a combo. I think in April you'll see guys here post Masters. They'll pop up here and look. I mean, a lot of them can travel on a private jet. They can just pop up here, and so I think there's absolutely going to be some. I mean, the weather could play a role in that if it's 50 degrees and it's not. But I think the caddies, the players will come up here. They'll want to see it. I mean, it's a major championship first and foremost, so they're going to put their best foot forward. But I think for a lot of them, it's they need to revisit the golf course. It's been 10 years for some; they've never been here before. I mean, there's that kind of crop of young guys right now that haven't ever seen this course, and so they're going to want to check it out. I mean, we just went through it last year at Southern Hills that it was kind of hit or miss, but we had Tiger show up. I mean, you had guys show up, periodically, and that's kind of the fun thing about the build-up is all of a sudden you get somebody that's out there and it becomes a hub of activity.
Even though this is a championship or a course that's staged many championships, talking to guys at Southern Hills, they say, look, we see 100 courses a year or whatever it is. It's hard to keep track of them all. They do need that review, even for someone who's been to Oak Hill before. The last thing I want to talk about is with this championship being in May, and again, without the summer of golf, where people are in golf mode to kind of build up to it, what are some of the challenges of building a buzz, and how are you going to try and maybe get this community involved in weeks and months that aren't normally golf weeks and months around here?
Well, I think, we were waiting ideally until after the Super Bowl and the Bills won before we really ramped up, because we know that's the focus of this community. But, I think it's a couple things. It's one, it's just, I think, just taking advantage of the general golf momentum. Like I said, the Netflix series, the Players Championship, the golf season is obviously pushed back. And I think this Netflix series is actually going to be really, really exciting. Justin Thomas, they had a camera on him during the PGA Championship in Southern Hills. So my understanding is there's a whole episode of that. And so I think that's going to help create some interest. But we've got a lot of plans to be out in the community with the trophy. I think that's one of the most iconic things we have is the Wanamaker Trophy. And we've got it on hand here, and so we've got a plan to have it out and about in the community. And what's great about Rochester is there's so many people that reach out and say, hey, we want to do something. We want to do some golf-centric thing. We've got, a night with the Amerks here in a couple weeks. Everybody just wants to be a part of it. Obviously, the Red Wings, really anybody that's got sort of a microphone or something to say to the community, they've wanted to get involved, and so that's a lot of what we're doing right now is sort of focused on that, just more awareness or celebration, because we're not in a ticket sales mode. We're not in this stretch where we're saying, hey, we really need you to buy, sell, sell, sell. And that's when our job gets really fun, because then we just go out and talk about the trophy and the history and build that excitement, because we're not having to educate people. Everyone knows the drill here, and most of the people that we talk to, you tell them you're here with the PGA, their eyes light up. Everybody's got a story. That's, again, I said this thing probably in 19, is that one of the best parts about being here is those stories. Everybody's got it. And sometimes it's, when I was 1975, I did X, Y, Z, or probably my favorite is, everybody, the Concorde stories from 95, as if the Concorde was like the greatest thing to ever come to the Rochester. Exactly right, and you just think about how cool that must have been. But that is what makes our job special. Is moving these communities to be so embraced, and obviously to get to do this a second time in Rochester is a dream come true for me.
We're happy to have you back for sure. Before we wrap up here, just real quick, informational for people at home. the trophy's going to be moving around the community. How do you get a chance to see it? Maybe the Amerks game is February 17th, I believe, so that's the first spot.
Yep.
And then the second thing I want you to talk about is just if someone wants to get tickets, where do they go?
Yes, they go to pgachampionship.com. All of our information is there. Obviously, we try to keep it simple. Follow our Twitter, Instagram channels. I mean, I think that's going to be something that, I think people maybe year over year, they might not follow us as much because, we're at different locations. But I think for the next 3 months, go and follow all those accounts because a lot of that information is going to be going out there, just like, again, most sports organizations. But yeah, I think just use the website as the guide, but a lot to come. We're going to roll out different stuff through our app and know before you go. So if anybody's at home thinking, hey, I bought my tickets 9 months ago and what's next, that's all coming. Just stand by, and I think that's where we've really elevated that experience is some of these on-site apps, interactive experiences where people can, get around, find out where the concession stands are, how to get from point A to point B, in a way that we certainly couldn't do in 2013 when I don't even think we allowed phones.
Right. So follow the
come a
app.
long way, yeah.
Follow the app. Follow social media, and that'll cover both the ticket information and the trophy opportunities.
Correct. And if you bought tickets, make sure if you get an email from us in the next 3 months, definitely open it, look through it. We'll have all that information. But if not, when you show up, we'll have people ready to help you out.
Brian Carnes, 2023 PGA Championship Director. Thanks very much.
Thanks, Dad.
For joining us. And this was the first of, we're going to do this about 100 times.
I'm sure.
Over the next 100 days for sure. This is Making of a Major Championship. We'll be doing this again as we move on towards getting ready for the 2023 PGA Championship, beginning May the 15th, round 1, May the 18th, not that far away.